that's the state of things. And we have to oppose all compromise with Vatican II and the new Mass. If I give 1 inch to the new Mass, the whole thing is cracked. The whole thing won't hold. The whole thing is compromised. So let me continue and finish this with Archbishop Lefebvre. And this is why we have the right and duty to refuse disobedience. For when they convoke, call me back to Rome in perhaps a few months. Indeed, I have just received a letter from the Vatican talking about a mutual dialogue in the future, and which at the same time asked me not to perform these ordinations today. In order to be able to continue these mutual discourses, this dialogue, this discussions, well then, with whom shall I be having these mutual discussions? I believe that I have the right to ask these gentlemen who present themselves in offices which were occupied by cardinals who were indeed saintly persons and who were defenders of the Church and of the Catholic faith before. It seems to me that I would have the right to ask them, are you with the Catholic Church? Are you the Catholic Church? With whom am I dealing? If I am dealing with someone who has a pact with Freemasonry, have I the right to speak with such a person? Have I the duty to listen to them and obey them? My dear friends, we have been betrayed. And let me just repeat this now. My dear friends, we have been betrayed. By the bishops that should have stood in the line of Archbishop Lefebvre, they betrayed. Pray for them. As long as anyone's on earth, they can change. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Bishop Follet realized what he was doing and said, look, I condemn everything I've done in the past. I'm sorry for the betraying Archbishop Lefebvre. Let's turn everything around and get back to where he stood. And he could do that. Same with Bishop Williamson. He could clarify his false teaching and come back to the clear doctrinal stand of Archbishop Lefebvre. That would be such a happy grace. And we can pray for that, and we should. But as long as any traditional bishop or priest teaches any concession with the new Mass or Vatican II, they betray the fight. That goes for me as well. My dear friends, we have been betrayed by all those who ought to be giving us the truth, who ought to be teaching the 10 Commandments, who ought to be teaching us the true catechism, who ought to be giving us the true Mass, the one that the Church has always loved, the one that was said by the saints, the one that has sanctified generations and generations. And lastly, listen to this. Likewise, they must give us all the sacraments without any doubt concerning their validity. What's he talking about? The new sacraments. All the new sacraments have been changed. Baptism, Holy Eucharist, confirmation, extreme unction, they've all been changed. And they're doubtful, at least doubtful. That's why Archbishop Lefebvre traveled all over the world, came here many times to England to give conditional confirmation to many youngsters who were ordained, who were confirmed already in their local dioceses. But there was a doubt. And he himself made sure, he told them, better to be definitely confirmed, so you know you're confirmed, because they've changed the matter. Sometimes they use Crisco oil, coconut oil, vegetable oil instead of olive oil, which is what Christ instituted. And then many times they change the form, and even the intentions have suffered. So, and again, Archbishop Lefebvre has spoken extensively on this question, that these new sacraments are doubtful. And just think, if the devil could destroy the grace given through the sacraments, he's won. He's won. And that's why we have to make sure we have the true valid sacrament. This is what he's saying. Likewise, they, that is Rome, the Holy Father, and must give us all the sacraments without any doubt concerning their validity. Sacraments which are certainly valid. It is a duty for us to ask them for these things, and they have a duty to give them to us. So says Archbishop Lefebvre, and the sermon continues. But I just want to bring that out, because if in the early church, what we take so much for granted, the Gospels, the four Gospels, every Sunday you hear, and every Mass you hear always from the Gospels. And we don't even question their authenticity. But there was a time in the church when there was a battle over which Gospels were true, which Gospels were false. And it was the authority of the church to say these four are from the Holy Ghost. All these other 20, 30 of them are false. So it was the authority of the church, guided by the Holy Ghost, to guide us. And it's the same right now. Where do we stand with these novelties of these new sacraments, new Mass, new theology, new philosophy, new martyrology, a whole new vision of the church based on Vatican II, a whole new teaching that the Holy Ghost uses other denominations as vehicles of his grace, which is a heresy. He's only established one bride, his Catholic Church. And she alone has the authority to decide on these questions. So we have the hindsight now to judge Vatican II with what the Church has always taught. And as Archbishop Lefebvre always made very clear, it stands condemned. Vatican II stands condemned. The new Mass stands condemned. And remember that Pope Leo XIII in Apostolicae Curae, when he condemned, after 350 years, the new rites of the Anglicans, which originated here in this country, the Anglican sacraments. 350 years later, the Church condemns them as invalid. So in that light, when you got the new sacraments of Vatican II, which are the changes on these sacraments, including ordinations and consecrations of bishops, are worse than the Anglicans' sacraments. In that light, we can say they're at least doubtful. And that's why Archbishop Lefebvre did conclude that. They are at least doubtful. Maybe they're valid if there's proper matter, form, and intention, but as time goes, more and more priests are not formed in the old way, and they're more and more doubtful. So, dear little flock here in Liverpool, thank God and thank the Blessed Mother, we have the grace to be clear where to stand. As St. Vincent Larin said, when everything's in chaos and confusion, where do you go? Stand with tradition. You can't go wrong there. And this is where we must stand. And so, again, this is what makes our battle now so painful, so difficult sometimes, is these great men that Archbishop Lefebvre consecrated and told them, hold to the faith. Don't seek any agreements with modernist Rome. Don't seek any canonical recognition until Rome comes back to Catholic tradition. Until the Pope, he says it very precisely, until we have a perfectly Catholic Pope. Don't even think about canonical recognition. Because them, modernist Rome, being in authority, and these modernist bishops being in authority, you put yourself in a position in their cage, they will pluck your feathers and cook you. And that's exactly what's happening. The foxes say to the chickens, yes, come in as you are. Because that's the big argument now. We can be recognized as we are. Well, of course, the chickens are recognized as they are. They're fat, they're plump, they got a lot of meat on them, they look delicious for supper. And the modernists who want to destroy our Catholic Church, our Catholic Mass, our Catholic sacraments, of course they're saying, and they've already done it to 12 or 13 traditional priests and nuns and monks like the Scottish Redemptorists, come on in as you are, but you're not going to stay as you are. You're going to change. And sure enough, they all change. They get their beaks taped up. They can't shout out anymore. And they can't fight the errors the way they did before. And all the priests in the society know, and the instructions are very clear. You will not preach against the agreement with Rome. You will not condemn the doctrinal declaration, this so-called dead document. And I always tell the priests, well, if it's dead, then condemn it next Sunday from the pulpit. Well, I don't want to be making any waves. But it's a doctrinal declaration. Doctrine is everything to get to heaven or hell, what we must believe. And so dear little flock here, persevere. And let's beg the Virgin Mary. She is an enemy to all ecumenism. She's an enemy to all heresies. She's an enemy to Vatican II and the new Mass. So pray for the 4 bishops, and then the 3 more consecrated by Bishop Williamson. Pray these bishops stand clearly. What is so difficult to just hold and teach what Archbishop Lefebvre gave us? Why do they want to change everything? Why do they have to play games with our holy Catholic faith? We're sick and tired of this, because this is what's been going on for 53 years in all the dioceses and all the traditional groups. We've had enough of this. And we have a right to demand from Mother Church by canon law. You and I have the right to demand the real true faith, the real true sacraments, the real true Mass, without any games. So pray for these bishops, and pray for all the priests, especially of the Society of St. Pius X. You all know so many good priests, and I know many, many good priests, far better than I, far better than, but they know better. They shouldn't be going along with this. So pray for them to have the strength and courage to rise out of this quicksand of modernist compromise. Because there's a point where you just can't get out. There's a point where it swallows you up. There's a point where priests have told me, who have said the new Mass, they say, there's a point where if you're saying the new Mass, it erodes your faith. And if you don't get out of it and stop saying that new Mass, and you just go along with it, you're going to lose the faith. It erodes the faith. Priests have told me this, who have said the new Mass. And I was trying to make the point how the new Mass erodes the faith of the people, the faithful. But he said, oh, Father, correction. The new Mass erodes the faith of the priest. Worse. Because even to perform a valid sacrifice, he has to think contrary to the new missal. I won't go into the long explanation for that here, but just to suffice and say, when any priest says this Tridentine Mass missal, it is very clear what he must do. It's very clear to the priest what he's doing. And you got the words of consecration in big letters, and all the red ink splashed above it and below it. The red ink tells the priest what he must do. And he must lean over the altar and say the words silently and distinctly and slowly, the words of consecration. And then genuflect immediately after, because of the miracle of transubstantiation. With the Tridentine Mass, there's no mistaking it. But you see, in the new Mass, all that's eliminated. And there's no more big letters in a period. Everything's done in the narrative form. So if the priest isn't careful, he says of invalid Mass. He doesn't even say Mass. He just reads the Bible. And this is what we're up against. So we can't be strong and don't give in anything to any bishop or pope or any priest who tries to buy you to bite into the poison of New Mass and Vatican II. Even if he says you can go to it and nurtures your faith, no, it won't. As Father Cummings, a great hero in Australia, excuse me, I was just down there, and Father Cummings used to tell the faithful, if you're in the desert and you're dying of thirst, you cannot nourish your thirst on kerosene oil. It will kill you. We need the real nourishing water of the real Mass and grace. So let's beg the Virgin Mary to keep us, put her mantle over us, help us persevere. And each one of us should tremble. St. Paul says that work out your salvation with fear and trembling, and it's real. Here you are, here I am. But tomorrow, will we have the faith? Next month, will we be persevering? What I've seen already in the last, just this period of the resistance period since 2012 to now, how many faithful have just given up the fight and just gone back to the new Mass, gone with the slide of the new SSPX, gone to St. Peter's or Sedevacantis. Where will we be in a month? It's frightening. And when I see my fellow priests, just some of them going Sedevacantis, who were strong before, some who were going modernist, who were strong before, and your mind just explodes and say, what's going on? This is madness. So we're not going to survive this storm unless we are under Our Lady's mantle. She is the bulwark, she is the fortress we must stand under. So pray her rosary, wear her scapular, and love her with all your soul, your whole mind, your whole heart. Love your mother, and she will take you in her heart. She will look after you. She'll protect you. She's going to nourish you. She'll teach you how to pray. She'll draw you closer and closer to her Son so that you die in the fullest degree of charity and obtain the happiness of heaven. And if you got to go to purgatory and you loved her and you were devoted to her, she's going to make sure it's not going to last too long. So what a great gift our mother is. O Mary conceived without sin. O Mary conceived without sin. O Mary conceived without sin. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.